the new god of disfavor, the new gods of disfavor, the new god of disfavor, the new goddess of disfavor, the new goddesses of disfavor, the new goddess of disfavor, the old god of disfavor, the old gods of disfavor, the old god of disfavor, the old goddess of disfavor, the old goddesses of disfavor, the old goddess of disfavor, the greater god of disfavor, the greater gods of disfavor, the greater god of disfavor, the greater goddess of disfavor, the greater goddesses of disfavor, the greater goddess of disfavor, the lesser god of disfavor, the lesser gods of disfavor, the lesser god of disfavor, the lesser goddess of disfavor, the lesser goddesses of disfavor, the lesser goddess of disfavor, the higher god of disfavor, the higher gods of disfavor, the higher god of disfavor, the higher goddess of disfavor, the higher goddesses of disfavor, the higher goddess of disfavor, the lower god of disfavor, the lower gods of disfavor, the lower god of disfavor, the lower goddess of disfavor, the lower goddesses of disfavor, the lower goddess of disfavor, the greater spirit of disfavor, the greater spirits of disfavor, the greater spirit of disfavor, the lesser spirit of disfavor, the lesser spirits of disfavor, the lesser spirit of disfavor, the higher spirit of disfavor, the higher spirits of disfavor, the higher spirit of disfavor, the lower spirit of disfavor, the lower spirits of disfavor, the lower spirit of disfavor, the major god of disfavor, the major gods of disfavor, the major god of disfavor, the major goddess of disfavor, the major goddesses of disfavor, the major goddess of disfavor, the minor god of disfavor, the minor gods of disfavor, the minor god of disfavor, the minor goddess of disfavor, the minor goddesses of disfavor, the minor goddess of disfavor, the superior god of disfavor, the superior gods of disfavor, the superior god of disfavor, the superior goddess of disfavor, the superior goddesses of disfavor, the superior goddess of disfavor, the inferior god of disfavor, the inferior gods of disfavor, the inferior god of disfavor, the inferior goddess of disfavor, the inferior goddesses of disfavor, the inferior goddess of disfavor, the ancestor god of disfavor, the ancestor gods of disfavor, the ancestor god of disfavor, the ancestor goddess of disfavor, the ancestor goddesses of disfavor, the ancestor goddess of disfavor, the ascendant god of disfavor, the ascendant gods of disfavor, the ascendant god of disfavor, the ascendant goddess of disfavor, the ascendant goddesses of disfavor, the ascendant goddess of disfavor, the descendant god of disfavor, the descendant gods of disfavor, the descendant god of disfavor, the descendant goddess of disfavor, the descendant goddesses of disfavor, the descendant goddess of disfavor, the transcendent god of disfavor, the transcendent gods of disfavor, the transcendent god of disfavor, the transcendent goddess of disfavor, the transcendent goddesses of disfavor, the transcendent goddess of disfavor, the past god of disfavor, the past gods of disfavor, the past god of disfavor, the past goddess of disfavor, the past goddesses of disfavor, the past goddess of disfavor, the present god of disfavor, the present gods of disfavor, the present god of disfavor, the present goddess of disfavor, the present goddesses of disfavor, the present goddess of disfavor, the future god of disfavor, the future gods of disfavor, the future god of disfavor, the future goddess of disfavor, the future goddesses of disfavor, the future goddess of disfavor, the authentic god of disfavor, the authentic gods of disfavor, the authentic god of disfavor, the authentic goddess of disfavor, the authentic goddesses of disfavor, the authentic goddess of disfavor, the synthetic god of disfavor, the synthetic gods of disfavor, the synthetic god of disfavor, the synthetic goddess of disfavor, the synthetic goddesses of disfavor, the synthetic goddess of disfavor, the progressive god of disfavor, the progressive gods of disfavor, the progressive god of disfavor, the progressive goddess of disfavor, the progressive goddesses of disfavor, the progressive goddess of disfavor, the regressive god of disfavor, the regressive gods of disfavor, the regressive god of disfavor, the regressive goddess of disfavor, the regressive goddesses of disfavor, the regressive goddess of disfavor, the ordinary god of disfavor, the ordinary gods of disfavor, the ordinary god of disfavor, the ordinary goddess of disfavor, the ordinary goddesses of disfavor, the ordinary goddess of disfavor, the extraordinary god of disfavor, the extraordinary gods of disfavor, the extraordinary god of disfavor, the extraordinary goddess of disfavor, the extraordinary goddesses of disfavor, the extraordinary goddess of disfavor, the static god of disfavor, the static gods of disfavor, the static god of disfavor, the static goddess of disfavor, the static goddesses of disfavor, the static goddess of disfavor, the dynamic god of disfavor, the dynamic gods of disfavor, the dynamic god of disfavor, the dynamic goddess of disfavor, the dynamic goddesses of disfavor, the dynamic goddess of disfavor, the land god of disfavor, the land gods of disfavor, the land god of disfavor, the land goddess of disfavor, the land goddesses of disfavor, the land goddess of disfavor, the sea god of disfavor, the sea gods of disfavor, the sea god of disfavor, the sea goddess of disfavor, the sea goddesses of disfavor, the sea goddess of disfavor, the sky god of disfavor, the sky gods of disfavor, the sky god of disfavor, the sky goddess of disfavor, the sky goddesses of disfavor, the sky goddess of disfavor, the god of disfavor, the gods of disfavor, the god of disfavor, the goddess of disfavor, the goddesses of disfavor, the goddess of disfavor, the half god of disfavor, the half gods of disfavor, the half god of disfavor, the half goddess of disfavor, the half goddesses of disfavor, the half goddess of disfavor, the vessel of disfavor, the vessels of disfavor, the vessel of disfavor, the name of disfavor, the names of disfavor, the name of disfavor, the person of disfavor, the persons of disfavor, the person of disfavor, the persona of disfavor, the personas of disfavor, the persona of disfavor, the personage of disfavor, the personages of disfavor, the personage of disfavor, the personality of disfavor, the personalities of disfavor, the personality of disfavor, the personification of disfavor, the personifications of disfavor, the personification of disfavor, the image of disfavor, the images of disfavor, the image of disfavor, the imagination of disfavor, the imaginations of disfavor, the imagination of disfavor, the belief of disfavor, the beliefs of disfavor, the belief of disfavor, the thought of disfavor, the thoughts of disfavor, the thought of disfavor, the word of disfavor, the words of disfavor, the word of disfavor, the action of disfavor, the actions of disfavor, the action of disfavor, the reaction of disfavor, the reactions of disfavor, the reaction of disfavor, the feeling of disfavor, the feelings of disfavor, the feeling of disfavor, the situation of disfavor, the situations of disfavor, the situation of disfavor, the circumstance of disfavor, the circumstances of disfavor, the circumstance of disfavor, the environment of disfavor, the environments of disfavor, the environment of disfavor, the relationship of disfavor, the relationships of disfavor, the relationship of disfavor, the number of disfavor, the numbers of disfavor, the number of disfavor, the formula of disfavor, the formulas of disfavor, the formula of disfavor, the equation of disfavor, the equations of disfavor, the equation of disfavor, the theory of disfavor, the theories of disfavor, the theory of disfavor, the symbol of disfavor, the symbols of disfavor, the symbol of disfavor, the color of disfavor, the colors of disfavor, the color of disfavor, the thing of disfavor, the things of disfavor, the thing of disfavor, the way of disfavor, the ways of disfavor, the way of disfavor, the place of disfavor, the places of disfavor, the place of disfavor, the time of disfavor, the times of disfavor, the time of disfavor, the event of disfavor, the events of disfavor, the event of disfavor, the result of disfavor, the results of disfavor, the result of disfavor, the crown of disfavor, the crowns of disfavor, the crown of disfavor, the throne of disfavor, the thrones of disfavor, the throne of disfavor, the disfavor king, the disfavor kings, the disfavor kingdom, the disfavor kingdoms, the disfavor king subject, the disfavor king subjects, the disfavor king's dominion, the disfavor king's dominions, the kingdom of disfavor, the kingdoms of disfavor, the kingdom of disfavor, the disfavor queen, the disfavor queens, the disfavor queendom, the disfavor queendoms, the disfavor queen subject, the disfavor queen subjects, the disfavor queen's dominion, the disfavor queen's dominions, the queendom of disfavor, the queendoms of disfavor, the queendom of disfavor, the disfavor prince, the disfavor princes, the disfavor princedom, the disfavor princedoms, the disfavor prince's subject, the disfavor prince's subjects, the disfavor prince's dominion, the disfavor prince's dominions, the princedom of disfavor, the princedoms of disfavor, the princedom of disfavor, the disfavor princess, the disfavor princesses, the disfavor princessdom, the disfavor princessdoms, the disfavor princess's subject, the disfavor princess's subjects, the disfavor princess's dominion, the disfavor princess's dominions, the princessdom of disfavor, the princessdoms of disfavor, the princessdom of disfavor, the lord of disfavor, the lords of disfavor, the lord of disfavor, the lordess of disfavor, the lordesses of disfavor, the lordess of disfavor, the priest of disfavor, the priests of disfavor, the priest of disfavor, the priestess of disfavor, the priestesses of disfavor, the priestess of disfavor, the ritual of disfavor, the rituals of disfavor, the ritual of disfavor, the shrine of disfavor, the shrines of disfavor, the shrine of disfavor, the temple of disfavor, the temples of disfavor, the temple of disfavor, the leader of disfavor, the leaders of disfavor, the leader of disfavor, the follower of disfavor, the followers of disfavor, the follower of disfavor, the natural substance of disfavor, the natural substances of disfavor, the natural substance of disfavor, the supernatural substance of disfavor, the supernatural substances of disfavor, the supernatural substance of disfavor, the temporal substance of disfavor, the temporal substances of disfavor, the temporal substance of disfavor, the spiritual substance of disfavor, the spiritual substances of disfavor, the spiritual substance of disfavor, the natural form of disfavor, the natural forms of disfavor, the natural form of disfavor, the supernatural form of disfavor, the supernatural forms of disfavor, the supernatural form of disfavor, the temporal form of disfavor, the temporal forms of disfavor, the temporal form of disfavor, the spiritual form of disfavor, the spiritual forms of disfavor, the spiritual form of disfavor, the age of disfavor, the ages of disfavor, the age of disfavor, the era of disfavor, the eras of disfavor, the era of disfavor, the awakener of disfavor, the awakeners of disfavor, the awakener of disfavor, the awakening of disfavor, the awakenings of disfavor, the awakening of disfavor, the realm of disfavor, the realms of disfavor, the realm of disfavor, the dimension of disfavor, the dimensions of disfavor, the dimension of disfavor, the zone of disfavor, the zones of disfavor, the zone of disfavor, the frequency of disfavor, the frequencies of disfavor, the frequency of disfavor, the century of disfavor, the centuries of disfavor, the century of disfavor, the millennium of disfavor, the millenniums of disfavor, the millennium of disfavor, the purpose of disfavor, the purposes of disfavor, the purpose of disfavor, The meaning of disfavor. The meanings of disfavor. The meaning of disfavor. The culture of disfavor. The cultures of disfavor. The culture of disfavor. The demonstrator of disfavor. The demonstrators of disfavor. The demonstrator of disfavor. The demonstration of disfavor. The demonstrations of disfavor. The demonstration of disfavor. The manifester of disfavor. The manifestors of disfavor. The manifester of disfavor. The manifestation of disfavor. The manifestations of disfavor. The manifestation of disfavor. The presence of disfavor. The presences of disfavor. The presence of disfavor. The glow of disfavor. The glows of disfavor. The glow of disfavor. The goal of disfavor. The goals of disfavor. The goal of disfavor. The plan of disfavor. The plans of disfavor. The plan of disfavor. The book of disfavor. The books of disfavor. The book of disfavor. The philosopher of disfavor. The philosophers of disfavor. The philosopher of disfavor. The philosophy of disfavor. The philosophies of disfavor. The philosophy of disfavor. The releaser of disfavor. The releasers of disfavor. The releaser of disfavor. The release of disfavor. The releases of disfavor. The release of disfavor. The variable of disfavor. The variables of disfavor. The variable of disfavor. The cause of disfavor. The causes of disfavor. The cause of disfavor. The effect of disfavor. The effects of disfavor. The effect of disfavor. The journey of disfavor. The journeys of disfavor. The journey of disfavor. The emergence of disfavor. The emergences of disfavor. The emergence of disfavor. The source of disfavor. The sources of disfavor. The source of disfavor. The originator of disfavor. The originators of disfavor. The originator of disfavor. The origin of disfavor. The origins of disfavor. The origin of disfavor. The forefather of disfavor. The forefathers of disfavor. The forefather of disfavor. The foremother of disfavor. The foremothers of disfavor. The foremother of disfavor. The ancestor of disfavor. The ancestors of disfavor. The ancestor of disfavor. The descendant of disfavor. The descendants of disfavor. The descendant of disfavor. The lineage of disfavor. The lineages of disfavor. The lineage of disfavor. The heritage of disfavor. The heritages of disfavor. The heritage of disfavor. The heir of disfavor. The heirs of disfavor. The heir of disfavor. The co-heir of disfavor. The co-heirs of disfavor. The co-heir of disfavor. The joint heir of disfavor. The joint heirs of disfavor. The joint heir of disfavor. The dynasty of disfavor. The dynasties of disfavor. The dynasty of disfavor. The force of disfavor. The forces of disfavor. The force of disfavor. The law of disfavor. The laws of disfavor. The law of disfavor. The pact of disfavor. The pacts of disfavor. The pact of disfavor. The game of disfavor. The games of disfavor. The game of disfavor. The mask of disfavor. The masks of disfavor. The mask of disfavor. The armor of disfavor. The armors of disfavor. The armor of disfavor. The sword of disfavor. The swords of disfavor. The sword of disfavor. The shield of disfavor. The shields of disfavor. The shield of disfavor. The force shield of disfavor. The force shields of disfavor. The force shield of disfavor. The armored force shield of disfavor. The armored force shields of disfavor. The armored force shield of disfavor. The champion of disfavor. The champions of disfavor. The champion of disfavor. The guardian of disfavor. The guardians of disfavor. The guardian of disfavor. The defender of disfavor. The defenders of disfavor. The defender of disfavor. The protector of disfavor. The protectors of disfavor. The protector of disfavor. The chant of disfavor. The chants of disfavor. The chant of disfavor. The shape of disfavor. The shapes of disfavor. The shape of disfavor. The cube of disfavor. The cubes of disfavor. The cube of disfavor. The cuboid of disfavor. The cuboids of disfavor. The cuboid of disfavor. The sphere of disfavor. The spheres of disfavor. The sphere of disfavor. The spheroid of disfavor. The spheroids of disfavor. The spheroid of disfavor. The prism of disfavor. The prisms of disfavor. The prism of disfavor. The pyramid of disfavor. The pyramids of disfavor. The pyramid of disfavor. The cylinder of disfavor. The cylinders of disfavor. The cylinder of disfavor. The cone of disfavor. The cones of disfavor. The cone of disfavor. The triangle of disfavor. The triangles of disfavor. The triangle of disfavor. The circle of disfavor. The circles of disfavor. The circle of disfavor. The semicircle of disfavor. The semicircles of disfavor. The semicircle of disfavor. The square of disfavor. The squares of disfavor. The square of disfavor. The rectangle of disfavor. The rectangles of disfavor. The rectangle of disfavor. The parallelogram of disfavor. The parallelograms of disfavor. The parallelogram of disfavor. The rhombus of disfavor. The rhombuses of disfavor. The rhombus of disfavor. The trapezoid of disfavor. The trapezoids of disfavor. The trapezoid of disfavor. The polygon of disfavor. The polygons of disfavor. The polygon of disfavor. The pentagon of disfavor. The pentagons of disfavor. The pentagon of disfavor. The hexagon of disfavor. The hexagons of disfavor. The hexagon of disfavor. The septagon of disfavor. The septagons of disfavor. The septagon of disfavor. The octagon of disfavor. The octagons of disfavor. The octagon of disfavor. The nonagon of disfavor. The nonagons of disfavor. The nonagon of disfavor. The decagon of disfavor. The decagons of disfavor. The decagon of disfavor. The evolution of disfavor. The evolutions of disfavor. The evolution of disfavor. The revolution of disfavor. The revolutions of disfavor. The revolution of disfavor. The elemental art of disfavor. The elemental arts of disfavor. The elemental art of disfavor. The elemental science of disfavor. The elemental sciences of disfavor. The elemental science of disfavor. The elemental principle of disfavor. The elemental principles of disfavor. The elemental principle of disfavor. The elemental technology of disfavor. The elemental technologies of disfavor. The elemental technology of disfavor. The low elemental art of disfavor. The low elemental arts of disfavor. The low elemental art of disfavor. The low elemental science of disfavor. The low elemental sciences of disfavor. The low elemental science of disfavor. The low elemental principle of disfavor. The low elemental principles of disfavor. The low elemental principle of disfavor. The low elemental technology of disfavor. The low elemental technologies of disfavor. The low elemental technology of disfavor. The high elemental art of disfavor. The high elemental arts of disfavor. The high elemental art of disfavor. The high elemental science of disfavor. The high elemental sciences of disfavor. The high elemental science of disfavor. The high elemental principle of disfavor. The high elemental principles of disfavor. The high elemental principle of disfavor. The high elemental technology of disfavor. The high elemental technologies of disfavor. The high elemental technology of disfavor. The agent of disfavor. The agents of disfavor. The agent of disfavor. The agency of disfavor. The agencies of disfavor. The agency of disfavor. The amplifier of disfavor. The amplifiers of disfavor. The amplifier of disfavor. The amplification of disfavor. The amplifications of disfavor. The amplification of disfavor. The enhancer of disfavor. The enhancers of disfavor. The enhancer of disfavor. The enhancement of disfavor. The enhancements of disfavor. The enhancement of disfavor. The magnifier of disfavor. The magnifiers of disfavor. The magnifier of disfavor. The magnification of disfavor. The magnifications of disfavor. The magnification of disfavor. The influencer of disfavor. The influencers of disfavor. The influencer of disfavor. The influence of disfavor. the influences of disfavor, the influence of disfavor, the emanator of disfavor, the emanators of disfavor, the emanator of disfavor, the emanation of disfavor, the emanations of disfavor, the emanation of disfavor, the converger of disfavor, the convergers of disfavor, the converger of disfavor, the convergence of disfavor, the convergences of disfavor, the convergence of disfavor, the aura of disfavor, the auras of disfavor, the aura of disfavor, the impression of disfavor, the impressions of disfavor, the impression of disfavor, the intelligence of disfavor, the intelligences of disfavor, the intelligence of disfavor, the sophistication of disfavor, the sophistications of disfavor, the sophistication of disfavor, the genius of disfavor, the geniuses of disfavor, the genius of disfavor, the polymath of disfavor, the polymaths of disfavor, the polymath of disfavor, the psychic of disfavor, the psychics of disfavor, the psychic of disfavor, the knowledge of disfavor, the knowledges of disfavor, the knowledge of disfavor, the understanding of disfavor, the understandings of disfavor, the understanding of disfavor, the wisdom of disfavor, the wisdoms of disfavor, the wisdom of disfavor, the secret of disfavor, the secrets of disfavor, the secret of disfavor, the mystery of disfavor, the mysteries of disfavor, the mystery of disfavor, the revelation of disfavor, the revelations of disfavor, the revelation of disfavor, the tactic of disfavor, the tactics of disfavor, the tactic of disfavor, the strategy of disfavor, the strategies of disfavor, the strategy of disfavor, the strength of disfavor, the strengths of disfavor, the strength of disfavor, the might of disfavor, the mights of disfavor, the might of disfavor, the power of disfavor, the powers of disfavor, the power of disfavor, the authority of disfavor, the authorities of disfavor, the authority of disfavor, the dominion of disfavor, the dominions of disfavor, the dominion of disfavor, the rhythm of disfavor, the rhythms of disfavor, the rhythm of disfavor, the melody of disfavor, the melodies of disfavor, the melody of disfavor, the music of disfavor, the musics of disfavor, the music of disfavor, the lyric of disfavor, the lyrics of disfavor, the lyric of disfavor, the song of disfavor, the songs of disfavor, the song of disfavor, the dance of disfavor, the dances of disfavor, the dance of disfavor, the spirit of disfavor, the spirits of disfavor, the spirit of disfavor, the soul of disfavor, the souls of disfavor, the soul of disfavor, the body of disfavor, the bodies of disfavor, the body of disfavor, the mark of disfavor, the marks of disfavor, the mark of disfavor, the promise of disfavor, the promises of disfavor, the promise of disfavor, the visionary of disfavor, the visionaries of disfavor, the visionary of disfavor, the vision of disfavor, the visions of disfavor, the vision of disfavor, the picture of disfavor, the pictures of disfavor, the picture of disfavor, the sound of disfavor, the sounds of disfavor, the sound of disfavor, the tongue of disfavor, the tongues of disfavor, the tongue of disfavor, the language of disfavor, the languages of disfavor, the language of disfavor, the communication of disfavor, the communications of disfavor, the communication of disfavor, the people of disfavor, the peoples of disfavor, the people of disfavor, the society of disfavor, the societies of disfavor, the society of disfavor, the fortress of disfavor, the fortresses of disfavor, the fortress of disfavor, the government of disfavor, the governments of disfavor, the government of disfavor, the city of disfavor, the cities of disfavor, the city of disfavor, the nation of disfavor, the nations of disfavor, the nation of disfavor, the civilization of disfavor, the civilizations of disfavor, the civilization of disfavor, the world of disfavor, the worlds of disfavor, the world of disfavor,